You're still in this season with your business of you're stuck because you're terrified to just try it. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm in the middle of a 4-part video series, if you're watching me on YouTube, that are all kind of like some personal stories of mine about different times when my business was really struggling and how I was dealing with that emotionally and what then I ended up doing about it, with the hope that perhaps it will be an encouragement to some of you who are feeling really stuck in your business. So this is part 3 of a 4-part series. It's because I did this poll on Instagram a while back. And I asked my followers, like, if you are someone who's in business, let me know, like, if you feel like you're stuck in business or if like business is hunky dory. And 2/3 of my audience reported that they feel like they are currently stuck in their business. They either have, their revenue is stuck, or they need to hire and can't figure out how, or they need to get their website up and can't, there was a multitude of reasons. They're procrastinating, they have imposter syndrome, they self-sabotage. Like there was a whole gang of things. Okay. And so with 63% of my followers saying that they were stuck, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do to help here. So this is a 4-part series. This is part 3. And again, I did part 1, which it had been 2 episodes ago, about how one time I did like a webinar selling a 6-week program and not one single person bought. Not one single person, you guys. And I talk about how I almost was selling like a guilty telemarketer. So go listen to that if you haven't. And then on the last episode, I told you about a thing in my business that at one point worked brilliantly enough that Forbes did a magazine article. The Forbes magazine did an article about it. And then that thing quit working and how we had to innovate after that. So today I want to tell you about like 2 things that I was doing in business that were generating revenue that I really loved, but ended up feeling like, you know what? These things I just need to stop. They just need to be things that I am no longer dedicating time and energy and money to. So that's what I want to talk about today. And again, the whole reasoning that I'm doing this 4-part series is because I do think sometimes in business we just feel so all alone. And there's going to be a lot of you that are listening right now that you're already in one of my coaching programs. You're already in my inner circle, so you feel like you are around a group of women who you can ask questions to in the Facebook group, who are going to, come to your aid when you have a situation. You're already doing, monthly calls with me, Q&As. You're feeling like you have some support. Okay. So support is major. Can I just say that? I mean, support is stinking major. And maybe you're in my mastermind. So you get, pep talks from me all the time on the regular because we've Oxford my mastermind. But some of you maybe are feeling completely alone in your business. And what happens is sometimes when we are alone in our business and we feel like we don't have any support. And so listen, you can have, by the way, a very supportive spouse, but also, in terms of your business, but perhaps the spouse just doesn't know how to like lend, advice or tactical support because they're not a business owner. And so it's always like interesting to me when women will come into my coaching groups and they get like a little sideways because they feel like their sister, isn't helping them in their business or giving the support they need, or, their mom doesn't understand and their husband, doesn't have any idea what it's like. And I'm like, okay, but listen, the majority of us are surrounded on a day-to-day by people who work in traditional jobs, right? And so like, God gave you the vision. God gave me the vision. God gave you the ability. God gave me the ability. God wired you for entrepreneurship. He wired me for entrepreneurship. And so like, we're looking at them thinking, I don't, it's kind of a bummer that they don't understand. And we're getting sideways because they're not supporting or whatever. But like, I don't know that, like, you need to look for like-minded people, like other women who are in business to fill that void. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't expect my husband to behave like a girlfriend. There's things that I need to hash out with my girlfriends because they're like girl conversations. We're talking about menopause and all the things that, that start sagging after you're 50. Like I could go on with a list, right? Like those are conversations that I have with my girls because my husband's going to be like, yeah, I'm not a chick. I don't get it, et cetera, et cetera. And like, we're looking at our 9-to-5 friends and family and expecting them to be able to step into a role that like they can't get either. Okay. So that was off on a little tangent. That was maybe for somebody today, but the bottom line is my hope in sharing these stories with you and the ones I'm about to share with you today is that you no longer feel alone. You're like, oh my gosh, Jen, who, for all practical purposes, I have a pretty darn good business, guys. What I want you to see is it has not been just like everything has been, Lucky Charms and unicorns. It hasn't. There has been a lot of things that I have tried that have failed. There have been a lot of things that I've started and stopped. There have been many things that I've been very disappointed in the results. And I'm not talking 10 years ago when I started coaching. I'm talking last month, friends. Last month, there are things that I am really disappointed in results of. Okay, so my hope is that not only will you feel not alone, and maybe you will feel more normal about your business, but my hope is that you're also going to feel like inspired to make some shifts, changes, and especially some like mindset pivots that are going to get you unstuck. Because I promise you, as surely as I'm sitting here, you're not going to get unstuck just by thinking about things. Like you're going to have to do something. The Bible says that, what I hope to hear when I get to heaven is well done, good and faithful servant. That means that there's going to be a doing that's required here on earth. I don't get to just think about, intentionality. I don't just get to like ponder and meditate about how I could bless others. Like there has to be some doing. And sometimes I think as believers, as Christians, we've gotten, the scripture that faith, or in our head, we're like, we don't want to get into works, but we forget that Bible scripture, like faith without works is dead. Like, I know we don't want to get into a works mentality where we have to work our way into heaven, right? But also just the idea of sitting and thinking about something, hoping that it changes stuff, that's not how it works. There has to be an element of doing. So my hope is you're going to get up off the sofa, quit whining about your business, make some shifts and pivots, and get stinking unstuck. Because there are people depending on you to get unstuck so that they can have a job with you at some point, so that they can be inspired by your story at some point, so that they can watch what you've done and they can do the exact same thing. There are people watching you, girlfriend, get up. Okay. I love you. I love you. I also am really not sure about the headband, if I'm just going to be completely honest, but I'm going with it. If you're watching on YouTube, yes, I'm wearing a headband and I'm like, I'm 52. Am I too old? And I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to be any younger at 53. So I guess I might as well. So here we are. All right, let's talk. All right. Most of you possibly know that my background before I was a business coach was that I owned a painting company in Kansas City. I started in 1999. It officially became a business in the year 2000. And so I had a painting company from the year 2000 to 2017. We worked in a ton of like big, beautiful homes in Kansas City. I'm talking gorgeous mansions. We worked for Chiefs players and CEOs, and we got to go to the lake, work at houses there. I got to be flown to Belize and look at a house for a client there. And so I have been around beautiful homes forever and ever. And also, by the way, I bought my first home when I was 21 as a single woman. And so I love houses. I just literally bit the inside of my mouth, you guys. That hurt. Remember this guy that's on TikTok? I can't think of his name. And he bites the inside of his cheek. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee my pants on my podcast. He like shows the inside of his mouth and he's bleeding. I'm not gonna do that to you. I was bit. Did you guys hear that? Did I just crunch the inside of my cheek? What was that? It was like my tongue just came through my teeth in this weird way. Oh my God. It just happened. Ow. That hurt. I literally got the inside of my mouth. Okay. Well, that was fun. All right. Maybe I need to quit talking so fast. All right, folks. I promise I'm going to get it back on the rails. Okay. Ow. But anyway, all right. So I had this painting company, right? Have been a lover of houses all of my life. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like see the background of my office, like color and decor. It's always been very important to me. Part of that probably comes from the way I was raised, which was every single wall in the house is white. Every single room is full of carpet, not hardwood in one single floor, and you get to hang 0 on the wall and be happy with it. And eventually, when you have a house of your own, and this is a quote, you can do whatever you want. And so at 21, I was like, I will buy that house of my own and I will do what I want. And I have lived by that ever since. So I love making our homes into what I feel like is really representative of my personality and my husband's personality and our kids. And so anyhow, I love houses. All right. So I started my painting company and then I started coaching though 10 years ago. So that would have been about 2014. So there was a 3-year crossover, okay, where I was doing both. But I loved the painting because I got to be in beautiful houses. I was blogging for a long, long time while I had the painting company, because blogging was a way that I got more business in Kansas City. B, it was a way that like television stations would find out about me and have me on the air. I remember, I think it was channel KCTV 5, maybe. No, it was 4. They had me on the air because they found one of my blog posts that had been on Pinterest. And so like the whole blogging thing really helped my business for a long, long time. Then when I decided to start selling DIY videos, and not just painting locally in Kansas City, but teaching people across the United States how they could do faux finishing in their house, how they could do decorative painting in their house, how they could paint their own cabinets or what have you, like the blog really helped to just establish credibility so people could see like, before and after pictures, and then they would buy my videos. Okay. So I blogged about things for a long time and I loved it. I'm a writer at heart. I have 2 books. I loved writing Fears Not the Boss of You. I have lots of words. And so, the thing with the blog too is like at one time the blog made me some decent money. And because if you don't know how blogs work, like if you go now, even still, to jenniferallwoodhome.com, that's still my blog. You can see I have not updated it for 2 years, but I still make money every single month, hundreds of dollars every single month without ever doing anything, because there's ads on that. And when people stumble across my website, usually coming from Pinterest, then we, make money off of the ad revenue. And so anyhow, there was a time though, when I sat down and I closed the blog just a few years ago. I closed the painting company back in 2017. And by the way, that was hard. It was hard in just that there was some ego attached to it, because I was really known as the magic brush lady, the painting lady around Kansas City. And so, I was on television for that. It's much harder to get on television for business coaching. I was in magazines for that. Much harder to get in magazines for your monthly paid group versus a house you just did for the parade of homes. So there was definitely some like, oh, that part of it, like that losing that title and wearing that hat. There was a little bit of ego attached to that when I stopped the painting company in 2017. But then I stopped blogging. It was a little over 2 years ago, when I really sat down and looked at all the different ways that my business was making money. And I hope that somebody is going to hear this and like really be inspired to really know where your numbers are. If you do not know what your numbers are, you need to. You need to look at every area of your business you are currently making revenue and figure out where the majority of the revenue is coming from, and also where the majority of your time is being spent. Because it was such a little portion of my revenue, the ad revenue. It was way under 1% of my income. That was coming from the blog. And so, but I was still blogging every week. I'm taking pictures of our bougie in the beach in Florida and putting them on there. I'm taking pictures of bougie in the desert. I think I actually stopped blogging right before that. But if you go to Jennifer Allwood Home, you can see that there's no blog post, but there is a link to bougie in the desert. But anyhow, so taking pictures with the intention of, making sure that I'm using them on the internet for that ad revenue coming from my blog. But like, it made no sense. When we looked at like the amount of hours it would take me to put together a blog post, or to have somebody on my team help me with it, and then to make sure that it was on Pinterest, and then to make sure that I was putting it on social media, like it literally made 0 sense to continue. And so in that instance, I literally just quit doing it. I just one day just stopped blogging. There was no announcement. There was no email sent out to my list. It was just, my work here is done. I have blogged for, at that point, because I started blogging before we had Ava, and Ava is 16. So for at least, 17 years, I could have been blogging, but I quit 2 years ago. So 15 years I blogged and just stopped. And I think it was like the year before that we decided to start a product line for Jennifer Allwood Home. Some of you have followed me long enough on social media. You will remember my very close relationship that I had with the home office for Hobby Lobby. I loved Hobby Lobby, still do. Okay. And my dream was always to be able to like somehow partner with them and have some sort of a product line in Hobby Lobbies, because they have a few product lines. I know one person who's gone through my coaching who got a product line in there. And so my dream was always just to have a whole line of decor in Hobby Lobby. Colorful, swanky, disco bally, pink, all the things, right? And I had a special relationship with Hobby Lobby. And you might remember, like, years ago, before Facebook Lives were even a thing, I would go into Hobby Lobby when Ava was just a toddler, and I would film videos, and then I would go home and I would upload the videos to Facebook of me like showing my favorite things in Hobby Lobby, or hula hooping with like a wreath, form, and just crazy things. It was so much fun. And then when Facebook Live started, I started doing lives. I had no idea that there were people at corporate in Hobby Lobby that were watching those. So then they contacted me and they were like, Jennifer, this is years ago, would you write a blog post for us? And that was sponsored content. They were paying me to write content about their products. And I was like, absolutely. And then they were paying me to do live videos when Facebook Live was a thing. And I loved it. I loved it. They flew me to Oklahoma City several years ago into their home office in Oklahoma City to film like Thanksgiving and Christmas videos that they were going to be using like on social media. It was fabulous. I went with Jennifer from Tater Tots and Jello. I can never remember the other Jennifer's name. And I feel so bad. There was 3 Jennifers randomly. I think she was maybe from Utah also. I can never remember her name. Dang it. But yeah, I was with Tater Tots and Jello. Oh, it was Jennifer from, oh goodness. It's on the tip of my tongue. Hang on. Oh my gosh, now I just got to look her up. Hang on. I follow her on Instagram. Her style is so colorful. I love her. Why can't I think of her business? One second. Jennifer. Let's see how many different Jennifers Dimples and Tangles. Dimples and Tangles. So she was the other Jennifer. So Jennifer Griffith, Jennifer from Tater House and Jello, and myself. So anyway, and again, my hope was to maybe have a product line at some point with Hobby Lobby, and that never came to fruition. So a couple years ago, my team and I got together and we decided, you know what? We're going to offer a product line. It had been a dream of mine to have a line of products for a long time. So my team did a bunch of research and we figured out, okay, there's a couple different ways you can have a product line. Like you either have to basically have inventory, places to store things, or you could use a drop ship company that you basically like show off the products, but they ship from there, and then they take a percentage of things. And we ended up doing that. And we had rugs and candlesticks and, coasters that were really beautiful and fur stools. And we had some wallpaper. And the truth is, like, when you do it that way, you kind of have to pick out the products that third party, already has. It's not like they were whipping up something in particular, just for me. And some of it I purchased and used inside of Bougie on the Beach, thinking, okay, this will really help to promote the products. And the truth was, like, the products were cute, but they weren't like fabulous. I loved them, but I didn't like love them. You know what I'm saying? And so, I didn't push probably hard enough. And so our product sales definitely reflected that. We just definitely did not sell enough. And it was less than a year before we realized, okay, this is a distraction to where we make the majority of our money. This is a distraction to what God actually has called me to do, which is to exhort and edify women in business. And then when we look at like the amount of money coming in versus the amount of effort, and the lift on my team, I always call it the lift on my team. Like, how big of a lift is this for the people who work for me? They're having to send out emails, they're having to update websites, they're having to take, customer service things. And so, when we looked at that, I was like, okay, is this completely a distraction from what I'm actually called to do? Yes, it was fun. Yes, it was fun on the ego too. But I'm like, I just don't know that the juice is worth the squeeze. It just doesn't feel like the amount of revenue we were making, because we were basically like almost just barely breaking even. And so we didn't even have it for a full year before I was like, you know what? We just need to like have a blowout sale, and we just need to shut this piece down. And that was hard on the ego too, friends, because it was something that I wanted, right? It was something that gave me some joy. It was fun watching my friends and, different people that I knew like have products of mine in their house. And at times it kind of felt like, okay, has a little dream of mine maybe died. But the truth is, like, we don't know, like, if God's just completely done with that story, or if it was maybe just the dream was done for a time. Does that make sense? And so I knew that it was time to definitely shut that down. I knew that it was watering things down. I knew that the products were just not selling as well as they really needed to for us to like make it make sense to keep going. So, the truth is, I could have sucked my thumb in a corner and really, felt awful. And I can't believe I didn't do a better job of that. I can't believe we didn't sell more. Um, but that would have not helped me at all. Okay. It would have not helped me at all. And so the mindset shift that I literally had to make was kind of twofold. Okay. One of them was, okay, I can keep doing this, but I'm gonna have to put a lot more emphasis on it. I'm gonna have to put a lot more time and attention. I'm gonna have to have my team devote a lot more time and attention. So we're gonna have to really try to get more revenue on this brand new branch of business over here. When over here, like it seems like the favor is already over there. We've already got all the things made. Maybe we just need to launch a little bit more if we want to, make more on that side. Like it just, I had to decide, like, was it worth it? And the truth was, like, yes, I loved it, but I was more interested in seeing women set free and women to have options because they make money at their business. I was really more interested, my heart's really more in it for seeing women be able to grow businesses that can change the trajectory of their family. So I had to make that mindset shift. Like, this was not a failure having a product line. This is literally like just second behind my first calling. This was fun, but this is actually not what I'm called to in this season. And who knows what's going to happen, right? Like we have bougie in the desert in Arizona. We have bougie on the beach in Florida. God has, in some way given me both of those, I think, as absolute gifts so that I get to like use all my decorating and really like fulfill that creative piece of me. And so the mindset shift, number one, that I had to do was like, okay, so we could keep going with it, but I was just going to have to really like be more intentional. Or would you rather just double down on something over here, Jen, and like fill that creative need that you have, but maybe just not with the product line, and just really continue to focus on where God has called you first. That was one mindset shift I had to make. By saying that 3 times fast. The other mindset shift I had to make was this, and this is what I think is going to minister to a lot of you. Well, now at least I know. I tried something that I've been wanting to try for a while. We attempted a product line, which I had wanted for a minute. We gave it, a decent, I would say B+ shot at, being successful. And now I know. See, some of you right now, you're still in this season with your business of you're stuck because you're terrified to just try it. And what you don't realize is if you just tried it, regardless of if it's successful or a complete fail, at least now you know. Like, I hate the idea of just not knowing, of just wondering, like, what if I had done XYZ, or what if I hadn't done XYZ? Like, sometimes when I think, what if I hadn't closed my cart 6 years ago on my membership group and went from 1,100 people, or went from 700 people to adding 1,100 in 10 days time? I mean, that's when our business exploded. What if I hadn't done that? I'm like, thank goodness I tried that, because I remember arguing with my coach about it, not wanting to do it. Stu McClare was like, Jen, you need to close the cart. And I'm like, no, Stu, you don't understand. I'm trying to get more people in my group. And he's like, I know. So close the cart. And I'm like, wait, but if I want more people, why would I close it? Like, it was him almost double dog daring me. He literally had me get out a calendar, you guys. It was him as a coach and me trusting him as a coach and following through with what I told him I would do. Like, it was like well, I'm going to do it. And then now we'll know, I guess. And now we know that that was the right thing to do, right? Now I know that the product line was not. Some of you are so terrified of failure, but like, how are you ever going to know unless you actually do the thing? That's one of the mindset shifts you need to make to get unstuck. You're stuck because you don't know. You're stuck because you're spinning. You're sitting there, and your mind you're allowing it to wander in a million different directions. And some of you are like me and you have vain imaginations. And so you're going, on the crazy train, when the truth is, if you would just do the thing, like, then you would actually be able to see whether or not it could actually be successful. But that part of you right now is just like, you're going to know because you're just stuck. And by the way, being stuck is really hard. Also, trying a new thing in your business is really hard. So like, you get to decide your hard. I get to decide my hard. You can either just continue to stay stuck, and that's hard, or you can go ahead and try something that you've never tried before, which is also hard, and see what happens. But then you'll know. And so when I look back on blogging and when I look back on, the product line, when I look back on that 17 years of owning a painting company, all things that I have shut down, all things that I have quit, I am like so grateful that I tried and did each of them for the season that they were meant for. And I'm also so glad that I had the ability to let go when I knew that I was being transitioned out of each of those seasons. See, sometimes we cling so desperately to an old season because it's what we know. We had great favor there at one time. We really enjoyed the heck out of it. I mean, you guys, I loved like the idea of having that product line. It was fun. It was great. And so sometimes we get so attached to our titles and what God had for us in the last season that it's nearly impossible for us to see that this new season that God's calling us into could be so much better. Could have so much more opportunity, could be so better suited for our life, could open up so many more doors for us. But we're like clinging to this old thing over here and refusing to let go and move on. I don't know who this was for today, but this is definitely for someone. I don't know who needed to hear this today, but if you are someone who is doing something that is no longer productive, conducive, producing revenue for your business, like stop letting your ego dictate your business decisions. Shut it down. If you feel like God has been nudging you to do that and you've been disobedient, get back into alignment, sister. You have no idea who or what is on the other side of your obedience. My pastor says that all the time. Get it done. If you are still mourning, a part of your business you had to let go of, listen, I get it. I got a text from a dear friend of mine today. We were not talking about business at all. She's not in business. But I got to tell you a quote that I wrote down from her. She said, grief needs a witness. And I was like, whoa, that is so good. Some of you need to take an amount of time to where you do grieve your business having shifted, pivoted, moved on. You had to close down that brick and mortar. You had to leave one industry and you're starting in another. Like take some time to grieve. Grief needs a witness, but then like it's time also to get on with it. That's the only way to get unstuck, my friends. So gosh, I hope that this was helpful for someone. If this was especially for you today and you're watching me on YouTube, would you just leave me a comment below and let me know? And I don't think you guys understand. Every time we get a YouTube comment, I do a little happy dance on the inside because we're trying so hard to get more eyeballs on that account. And so, there's algorithms and this is how people find things. And so if you could leave a comment, would you please do that for us? And if you're just listening to wherever you listen to podcasts, if there's someone that you think could benefit from this today, would you share this with them? And maybe they'll go back and even listen to part 1 and part 2. And I'll have part 4 for you the next time. I love you guys so, so much. Till then, be blessed. Bye-bye. Easton. I bit the inside of my cheek.